he didn't resist. Inside the VIP section of Ibiza's legendary nightclub, Pasha's, amid strobe lights and a pounding bass, Eddie Burton stood still. No panic, no struggle, and the Spanish police arrived with a face, a name, and a warrant. But the man they were looking for didn't exist. Well, not officially anyway. Not under that alias and not in that country. To the world, he just looked like a tourist. A young, clean-cut, 23-year-old guy. But the name on that warrant carried weight all across Europe. Eddie Burton was no ordinary suspect. He was the silent architect around a 20 million pound drug ring. However, he didn't handle drugs, he didn't drive the lorries, yet his fingerprints were still all over this operation. From Liverpool to Amsterdam, from Spain all the way back to Dover. This is the story of how a young boy who vanished quietly built one of UK's most sophisticated drug empires. Before the nightclub and before he built his empire, Eddie was just a kid in Liverpool, only 10 years old, wearing a school uniform with clothes that are too big for him, yet he's still already in the game. It started off small, as things often do, a short walk, a plastic bag, and a nod from someone older. Eddie never asked questions. He just did whatever he was told. The older kids used him as cover. His soft face and small frame didn't raise any questions. But Eddie was different. He watched, he learned, and he understood the rhythms of the street life. When to speak, when to disappear, and how to read a cop before he noticed him. He didn't crave attention or reputation. He craved control. And by 16, he wasn't just running errands for the older boys. He was the one calling the shots. At 19, Eddie disappeared. No goodbyes and no missing persons report. Just a flight to another continent with a short lease and a fake name. However, Eddie wasn't hiding. No, he was expanding. Amsterdam was his launch pad. Unlike Liverpool, his home, it didn't have as many eyes watching. He moved smart, met people, sat in the background, and he listened attentively. He absorbed all the logistics that he could. Ferry times, freight routes, and port operations. He never bragged, he never flashed cash. The dude moved like smoke. His operation was built slowly and methodically. He built a web of couriers, brokers, and drivers, none of whom knew the whole picture. Every one of them received just enough information to do their part, nothing more. While Eddie disappeared into Europe, one person stayed behind to run the UK operation. Cian Banks. To any outsider, she looked like an influencer. Her socials were full of yacht parties, designer bags, and beach trips. But behind all the filters, she was the hub of a UK smuggling empire. She laundered money, managed couriers, and arranged routes. Investigators later called her role as essential in keeping Burton's UK side of his operation intact. Between June 2022 and October of 2023, Cian Banks flew to Spain and Amsterdam nearly monthly. On 2 occasions, she returned with more than just luggage. Kilograms of cocaine and ketamine inside bags. She passed through customs without any suspicion. No record, no red flags, just another solo traveler. But digital forensics knew what people had forgotten. Her phone told the real story. Messages, drop-off points, and logistics. Always calm and confident, she thought she was safe. It all started to unravel on July 3rd of 2022. Border Force stopped a lorry from entering Dover. Inside the truck, beneath some shopping bags, was 90 kilos of ketamine and 50 kilos of cocaine. 6 weeks later, they found another lorry. This time, they were able to put all the drugs into a modified fuel tank, and they ended up finding 142 kilos of cocaine and 25 kilos of heroin. Combined, the drugs totaled 307 kilos worth 20 million pounds. The drivers had no answers, but forensic evidence did. There were traces on the wrapping that linked directly back to Cian Banks and Eddie Burton. They hadn't driven the trucks, but obviously they'd touched the goods. Investigators pulled threads of WhatsApp messages, flight logs, and burner phones. They mapped out a pattern of logistics, coordination, and execution. Encrypted apps were supposed to protect them, emojis, code names, vague messages. But these patterns that they were using just matched too closely to their shipment dates and their delivery volume. Suddenly, a snowflake emoji wasn't so innocent anymore. His travel records were even worse. Banks' hotel check-ins and boarding passes were linked very closely with every single drug movement. The so-called background player was there at every key moment. By late 2023, Burton was long gone, but the NCA was closing in on him. Operation Emma had enough evidence to begin international coordination. They launched a joint investigation with Spanish and Dutch authorities. In August of 2023, intelligence placed Burton in Ibiza, not hiding, just taking a night off. At Pacha nightclub in the middle of a VIP section, the Spanish police officers moved in on him. No resistance and no drama, and he was arrested under his alias, but fingerprints did confirm it. Eddie Burton was held in Spain before being extradited to the UK. The NCA and the National Extradition Unit finalized the paperwork. By March of 2024, he was flown back under guard. Back in the UK, the case was airtight. Eddie had already been arrested previously back in December of 2023 at his hometown in Liverpool because his girlfriend's phone had messages, notes, and travel plans. The two accomplices showed up separately in court. No eye contact, no shared defense, because the evidence was just overwhelming. On February 12th, 2025, at Canterbury Crown Court, Eddie Burton pleaded guilty to 4 counts of importing Class A and B drugs. The judge did not describe Eddie as reckless, but instead he described him as surgical, an operator with international reach, running a system, not just smuggling. Sian Banks admitted to 7 charges, including trafficking and laundering. The court rejected her claims of being manipulated, and she was called indispensable. Eddie Burton was sentenced to 24 years, and Sian Banks was sentenced to 17 years. Not for street-level chaos, but for control, planning, and structure. The modern drug trade doesn't always come with violence. Sometimes it comes with frequent flyer miles, encrypted emojis, and spreadsheets. If you did find this story fascinating and you like listening to and watching true crime stories, then I highly recommend watching this video because this famous TikToker was sentenced to life in prison.